Welcome all. Coleman Report Live, end of fiscal year 2019 edition. Lance Sexton is in Dallas, I think. Chris Hearn, thank you for sitting in for him. Katie's our new editor. She's going to talk about some reporting. And John Riosti, journalist extraordinaire with American Banker. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Hey, I want to start off with a video that we exclusively obtained talking about this budget process. Now, sometimes it gets a little clunky. It's a short 20-second video with Senator Risch. Joseph, go ahead and run it. Let's see what happens. See, that's the cue to run the video, guys. Working on it. You know, you want yeah, as I said, this is clunky. Come on, get the hamsters running. All right.
I think, we're, as always, we're having difficulties getting through the budgeting, but SBA is an entity that is well-liked across party lines, and it is not something that's partisan.
Yeah, that was well. Sorry about that. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go right to John. He's going to give us an update of where we are on this continuing resolution, the SBA budget. We're in process, so I will embed this video when we do the update at the balance of the day. But what the video says is we have Senator James Risch out of Idaho, the former small business chairman of the Small Business Loan Committee, as the current chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, said this is going to be a done deal. We're going to get the $99 million, and we're going to have a continuing resolution. But he said, we're not going to shut the government over this, and we're going to find a way to fund the $99 million subsidy and not increase fees. John, how's my reporting?
I think your reporting is right on, Bob. The House has already voted that their side is signed, sealed, and delivered. And while the Senate isn't at that point exactly yet, you know, with the chairman saying what he said, I don't at this point think there's any doubt left. And behind that was a tremendous lobbying effort by banks, certainly by the credit unions and by all of the users to get this done. His position, really all of the lawmakers' position sort of reflects that there's a tremendous amount of support for this, and it would have been a catastrophe to see it shut down.
John, where are we at 1 o'clock Eastern on Thursday, September 26th?
Where we are is the House has voted. They voted a few days ago. The $99 million continuing resolution. The $99 million subsidy was included in their continuing resolution, so that's done. And the Senate, I don't think they've actually voted. They may actually be in the process of voting.
They're in the process, yeah. I have C-SPAN on there. They're in the process of doing that. It's unclear to me if the $99 million is in that or not. And anyway, go ahead.
It's there, and it's just a matter now of, I guess, if there are any differences, slight technical differences in the legislation, they'll work it out. But
this just in. I love when I can do that. This just in. Government funding through November 23rd, 60 votes needed, 63 yes, 6 no. So we are in business. How's that for breaking news?
That is breaking news. Very timely. And I'd like to know the 6 people who voted no and why.
Well, we'll figure out where the $99 million is. John and I are in agreement on this. If it's not included, it will be worked out in a conference.
Yes.
The Senate we have it on video with Jim Risch. The Senate's not going to hold this up for over $99 million. And there's a lot of backstory on that. Anyway, Chris, what do you think about that?
I think it's great. I think it's too bad it comes down to this sometimes, some years.
What are you talking about? It's September 26th. We got like 3-4 more days. Come on.
Right. That's my point. And especially when people, and it's now starting to get out, you and I have talked about this for well over a decade, that this is one of the federal programs that actually produces income of all things. And where it goes in Treasury's black box is anybody's guess. Of course, they're somewhat resistant to try and get some of that information and report it. I think there's a bigger story here than some people realize, but you don't stop something that's working and that works for small business. It would just be absolute stupidity.
And I know you and I, John, that's certainly your job. We've been talking to the staffs, and they're perplexed by the black box. I think there's even legislation on that. I've given them numbers. John's run the numbers. This is the $99 million makes absolutely no sense as an additional subsidy. It doesn't make any difference. So anyway, John, I appreciate all the work you're doing on this.
Well, one quick add, Bob, is the thing to look at now is the GAO study. That was called for by the House, and it's in process. It seems to be taking a long time, but they are doing it, and everyone will keep their eye on it to see what they say.
I assume you will be covering that report, John.
Yeah, I will, and I'm in contact with them very, very frequently.
Very good. Hey, let's go to the poll questions. Did the new equity injection requirements negatively impact your SBA loan volume for fiscal year 2019? The reason why we asked is our numbers are down a little bit this year. One banker I talked to said it had to do with the new 10% mandated equity injection requirements. I just want to see if other people feel the same way. That's what I about expected. Yeah, it affected some in the industry, but not really. Question number 3. Now this is obtuse. I bet I can even stump John on this one. Do you know what the optional peg rate is for the base of rate for your 7A loans?
I mean, do you use it, Bob?
Well, that's my next poll question, Chris. You got to stick to the script. Really? I'm shocked at that. The peg rate is 2.13%. It's the same spread over maximum spread to the peg rate as prime. I'm shocked. That's a high number. But as I said, that was sort of a throwaway question because the reason why I bring that up is they do the peg rate every quarter, and it just came out at 2.13%. Prime's at what, 5.25? So
5 as of last week.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. Finally, what is the maximum amount over prime that the third-party lender may charge for a 504 loan? And Chris, we have a typo here, don't we?
Well, I'm not sure if you mean the maximum over prime for the interim lien loan, or do you mean the third-party lien loan, the first or the second?
I'm talking about the third-party lien loan. The answer is 6%, so that's a trick question. We obviously have a typo there. Chris, what is the current market on these first lien loans, or these third-party first lien loans?
In terms of rate, the range, or you second market?
Yeah.
Call it high 3s to mid 5s, depending on property type, depending on how long it's fixed for. I mean, extremely aggressive. Obviously, the permanent second came out as its lowest all time. It's in the mid 3s, whether it's fixed for 20 years or 25 years. I mean, it's remarkable what we've seen in this industry. Now, I suspect October is going to be back up again a bit because, these things tend to track the 10-year yield. And of course, the 10-year yield has bounced around a lot and has gone back up again over the last 2-3 weeks. Very good.
Following up on our email from last week, we had a question about equity injection. And this is under Craig, this is under the old SOP. It was 25% of goodwill. Now it's a mandatory 10% of all business acquisition loans. So that was a good catch. We probably should have made that a little clearer. 25% is not mandated at this time. Every now and then we have these discussions about purchasing loans back from the secondary market. And what the issue is, there are some lenders, Paul being one of them, who want to give their Main Street customers a little bit of a break, but the secondary market isn't willing to lower that rate. And there is a process to do this, and you can do it. SBA is not involved, and you work directly with Coleman. But if the secondary market doesn't want to drop that rate, you have the ability to go ahead and repurchase the loan. And with that, Katie, you did a nice story. You edited about National Register of Historic Places. Tell us what you did on that.
So this article was really about if you're going to be lending to a historical site, a business that's trying to run within a historical site. And really what it says is don't be concerned about it too much. Don't worry. You can do this. It can be very successful business. The thing is you just have to follow some different rules. There's a couple different steps you need to take, and all of that stuff can be found within that article that we wrote. I believe that ran yesterday.
And also my partner engineering, it can be done. There's separate guidelines to do that. Chris, have you ever done any of this type of financing?
I have, and actually I have a client from about 3 years ago in Boca Grande, which is down on the southwest coast of Florida. And he had spoken to several other banks who all had, of course, their own credit policies that overlay on top of SBA's, saying that, oh, we don't want to touch things like this. And he eventually found me, and I knew that it was not as much of an issue as perhaps the other lenders made it out to be. And he's a now successful SBA 504 lender. So it's, you just have to dig in a little bit, and you have to know some of the details of some of these things out there.
Any issue with taking title to the property as a lender?
No, not at all.
I mean, I apologize, taking a lien on the property.
No. I knew what you meant, but no.
Want to talk, one of the things we're going to do, Chris, and you and I talked about this, we are going to come out with a Coleman Small Business Index. We're going to collate all these.
I think that's a great idea.
All these surveys out there. This is one from Cabbage, and we're going to, Katie and I are talking about it. We're going to make it simple, letter grades, so people, instead of these crazy indexes, we're going to start doing that. Katie wrote this nice story. Double-digit growth in the last, since 2018 for Main Street, Katie?
Yeah, it's actually looking really good. I really like this Cabbage report. It's great because it's free, it's available, and I was looking over it. It'll let you organize it based on the state, on the date, and on the industry, and it's looking really good out there right now. The best state, I believe, was Vermont. They had the highest growth, and
I would not against that.
No, me neither.
And the best industries are warehousing and transportation.
Very good. Well, Katie, you're doing a great job on that, and we'll get that out soon. It's going to be fun to put that together. We're going to do a real clear politics average and we'll come up with something like that, make life simple. Hey, Katie, give us a preview of what you're writing about tomorrow for Fraud Friday.
Sure. So a lot of people are following this case right now. It involves 2 city council members. And basically, from what the indictment says, there's this woman, Katrina Brown, who her family owns a barbecue business in Jacksonville, Florida. And they obtained a $2.6 million loan to help their small business. And when their business started to fail, she reached out to another council member and asked him to help her form 2 other businesses that were completely fake. And those businesses were used to obtain additional funding. So that case right now is in trial. The trial started on Monday. So that's what we are going to cover tomorrow.
We'll cover that tomorrow.
Expensive barbecue sauce. Yep.
Well, someone said, hey, I went through, I didn't read it that carefully, but someone said, I went through, I saw all these empty bottles, so I thought they were legit. I don't know. So, well,
You just use colored construction paper and put it in
allegedly.
Looks like it's filled, right?
Hey, we're starting our fall training next week. Please be sure and take advantage of that. We have underwriting, servicing, closing, even express training, award-winning. And if you use that promo code LIVE, you get $100 off. I want to push our secondary market summit. We're going to start getting that out. And we're going to change that early bird rate to, what are you going to do, Joseph, October 31st? Yeah, because we had to move it to January this year for a couple of reasons. But please take advantage of that. We have some great webinar offerings coming up. We're going to do a USDA BNI CNF webinar next week, correctly calculating global cash flow. Lance is going to be doing litigation plans. We do our 4th annual medical practice professional financing seminar. And again, we have promo codes on it. Chris, what is your opinion? What is your opinion about the financing medical professionals these days?
That's a very simple question, Bob, with a very complex answer. I don't think anybody's going away in the medical professional community. Some of them are very good business people. Some are not terribly good business people. I always find it interesting that a lot of people in my world tend to chase the medical professionals as if they can do no wrong. And I've seen my share of doctors with tax liens and judgments and haven't paid student loans that were government guaranteed and all sorts of things. So it's like anything, it's not always cracked up to be what everybody thinks it is. You gotta be careful. You gotta look into things.
We love to push our industry events, even with the national trade organizations. There they are. The National World Lenders Roundtable, that is a free event sponsored by Thomas USAF. Or maybe this year they're going to go $100. It's very nominal to attend. It's a great event. We get the buy-in from the USDA people, and that's a great event. And of course, the secondary market. And the final vote is 82 yes, 15 no. We're in business. And with that, thank you all very much. We will send out that video that went so well. That'll talk about an epic fail, gentlemen. We'll send
And
out
list those 15 senators that voted against the SBA.
We'll do that, and we'll track down the $99 million.
Yes.
Have a nice weekend. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.